Welcome back to Ancient Egyptian Object Stories. In this episode, we jump ahead to the late period and take a look at the famous Geir Andersen cat statue and the significance of cats in ancient Egypt. This episode pays tribute to the excellent TV series Our Flag Means Death, which featured this statue in Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2 among Blackbeard's loot. Sadly, this show has suffered an unfair and untimely cancellation, and because of its extraordinary impact, I wanted to help keep it alive in some small part with this video. This object dates to the late period, about 664 to 30 BCE, which most famously includes the Saite period. This period is named after the site Sais, most associated with the kings of the 26th dynasty. But the late period comprises dynasties 26 to 30, after which the Ptolemaic period began. During the late period onward, cat statues like the one highlighted in this object story were enormously popular and were also associated with, or even contained, remains of mummified cats. The Geir Andersen cat statue is so named because it was gifted to the British Museum in 1939 by an Egyptian antiquities collector named Robert Grenville Geir Andersen, and it is probably the most famous ancient Egyptian cat statue, often having been used as art inspiration and replicas for home decor, or as set decoration for a certain pirate show.
Is that a fucking cat? Meow.
Standing at 42 centimeters tall with the base, the statue is made of hollow cast bronze with 2 gold earrings, a gold nose ring, and silver inlay decorating the disc and wedgette eye pectoral on its chest. Raised relief and incised lines make up the rest of the decoration, particularly on the statue's head and around its neck. Its body is slender with lithe limbs and a tail wrapped around one side and ending at the cat's forepaws. The tail is decorated with parallel lines that indicate stripes, suggesting that it is meant to portray the Egyptian Maucat. The cat's eyes are hollowed out, but perhaps they had been inlaid with some kind of stone or glass in antiquity, which is now lost. Otherwise, the raised relief and modeled detail has striking accuracy. Surmounting its head is a raised relief scarab beetle, and the inside of the cat's ears are decorated with ostrich feathers, symbolizing Ma'at, the concept of cosmic order. Another scarab is incised on the cat's chest, this one displaying 2 outstretched wings and bearing a silver disc. Typically, as the scarab is associated with the sun, this disc would represent the sun disc. However, gold is the traditional metal for representing the sun, whereas silver has lunar properties. Later, we will learn why this disc could refer to both the sun and the moon. Around its neck is an elaborate broad collar which gives the impression of rows of faience or stone beads and lotus petals, which was a common form of necklace worn in life or in death in ancient Egypt. Another necklace is situated over the broad collar, this one a pectoral affixed to a single string of beads. Pectorals were sort of like elaborate brooches worn as a pendant. This pectoral is a simple square of silver that is decorated with a wedgette eye, here the right rather than left eye, executed in raised relief. The Geir Andersen cat undoubtedly represents the goddess Bastet, a goddess worshipped since at least the Old Kingdom, appearing in the pyramid texts, when she was in her original form as a lioness-headed goddess. Like other lioness goddesses such as Tefnut or Sekhmet, Bastet was also one of the eyes of the sun god Re, that flees to Nubia in anger and is restored to Re by the lunar god Thoth. This association with the solar eye is represented on the cat statue as the wedgette eye that makes up the pectoral. The connection to solar worship may also be found in the 2 representations of the scarab beetle, one on her head and the other on her chest with outstretched wings. Likely, this references the beetle god Khepri, who was a god of dawn, or the rising sun. He was believed to have pushed the sun out of the afterworld as a newborn god. However, on this statue, the disc that the winged scarab supports is made of silver, which typically symbolizes the moon, whereas gold symbolizes the sun. Bastet was, in fact, also associated with the moon as the eye of the moon. The lunar eye could also be represented as a wedgette eye, representing the damaged left eye of Horus that signifies the phases of the lunar cycle. Therefore, the iconography on this statue quite cleverly checks all the boxes of the lunar and solar aspects of Bastet by mixing the symbolism together. Bastet was believed to be a rather mild goddess, compared to Sekhmet, for example, who went on a murderous rampage. Eventually, Bastet's kind demeanor led to her being associated with cats. Instead of a lioness-headed goddess, Bastet was depicted as a cat-headed goddess, which people are more familiar with today. However, she still was believed to have a violent streak.
Cats are terrifying, everyone knows that. Because they're witches. And they got knives in their feet.
Together with her identity as one of the Eyes of Re, Bastet was also the Cat of Re, the aggressive cat that is featured in books of the afterlife, such as the Book of the Dead. Here, the cat is represented with a knife, delightedly decapitating the evil snake Apep, who torments the sun god during his nighttime journey through the afterlife. Her afterlife presence may perhaps also be represented by cats appearing in the art tomb chapels, such as this cat in the tomb of Anen, seated under Queen T's chair, embracing a goose that was an animal sacred to the god Amun. Cats may also be found hunting in the marshes. In the late period, although the favored depiction of Bastet was as a cat or cat-headed goddess, she was still sometimes depicted as a lioness-headed goddess, like this statue pictured here. Bastet and Sekhmet therefore became conflated. This may have occurred earlier, but it seems this conflation was especially popular in the late period onward. During this period, bronze statues of Bastet were popular. In fact, bronze statues of any god were popular. Possibly such statues existed in centuries prior, but may have been melted down for their material and reused. Bastet could be depicted as a cat, such as the statue featured in this object story, or as a cat-headed goddess, either seated or standing, wearing a decorated dress and carrying various emblems. The most prominent emblem she carries is the so-called aegis, which is made up of a lioness head surmounted by a sun disk and wearing a broad collar. She also holds a sistrum, a musical instrument sacred to the goddess Hathor, whom she embodies in her calm form. She may also carry a basket or a figure of the god Nefertem. The latter god was the son of Sekhmet, and this may be a reference to Bastet's assimilation with Sekhmet. This relationship is also illustrated by a statue of Bastet as a cat seated on a lotus flower, a solar symbol with which Nefertem was associated. In other instances, she may be depicted as a cat-headed goddess accompanied by kittens. The main cult site of Bastet was at Bubastis in the Delta, but another important site was at Saqqara, where thousands of cat mummies and Bastet statues were donated as votive objects at the temple and cemetery there, called the Bubasteion. It is unknown where the Geir Anderson cat was found, but probably it was donated as a votive statue, perhaps at the Bubasteion itself. Its very fine quality suggests a wealthy person had commissioned it. Cat statues found at animal cemeteries often contained mummified cats, or had at one point and are now lost. It is entirely possible that the Geir Anderson cat, because it is hollow, had served as a coffin for a mummified cat that was subsequently buried at an animal cemetery, which are found in various sites throughout Egypt. Not all mummified cats would have received such fine coffins. Donating mummified cats to animal cemeteries and temples was rather grisly behind the scenes. It is clear that it was a business, and cats were bred specifically for the purpose of killing them, usually by strangulation, and mass-producing mummies for people to buy and then donate. So we must be careful about romanticizing the burial of cats in ancient Egypt. However, there are instances where pets were well loved and buried with their owners. One charming example of a cat burial is that of Prince Thutmose, son of Amenhotep III, who buried his pet cat named Tamyut in a lovely coffin. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will join me again for my next ancient Egyptian object story. For further reading, please see the description box below. If you liked this video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to be notified of future content.